Ladies and gentlemen, today, there are moments in life when the silence around you is louder than any crowd. You sit with your thoughts, trying to make sense of the people who left, the love that faded, and the dreams that shattered. But maybe, just maybe, not everything broken is meant to be fixed. Some things are meant to be released. Some people are meant to walk with you only for a season, not a lifetime. You don't always need answers, you need healing. And healing begins the moment you stop chasing closure and start choosing peace. You begin to realize that letting go is not a sign of weakness. It's a quiet revolution within your soul where you reclaim your right to grow. You can't bloom in a garden where you're constantly watered with doubt. You can't fly in a space where your wings are clipped by guilt, by fear, by emotional dependency. So, choose yourself, not selfishly, but gently. Choose your sanity, choose your dreams, choose your energy, because you matter. Don't hold on to people who make you feel like you're hard to love. You are not too much, you are not too broken, you are not meant to be fixed. You are meant to be embraced. And anyone who cannot honor your heart does not deserve a seat in your life. Let them go. Not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Not with blame, but with peace. Because in letting go, you are not losing them, you are finding yourself. Focus on yourself, on what brings you joy, calm, and light. The people who are meant for you will never make you feel like you have to beg for love, time, or respect. They will walk beside you, not ahead of you. They will hold your hand, not your progress. So today, promise yourself this: you will no longer shrink to be accepted. You will no longer exhaust yourself to be understood. You will focus on your healing, your peace, your becoming. And you will lovingly, gracefully let them go. We often grow up believing that holding on is a sign of strength, that the longer we cling to something or someone, the more it proves our love, our loyalty, our resilience. But the truth is far more tender. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go. Letting go is not giving up. It's not failure. It's the beginning of something sacred, the process of coming home to yourself. You see, when you hold on to people who no longer see your worth, you slowly begin to forget it yourself. You compromise, you bend, you silence your voice just to keep the peace. But there comes a point where the peace you're protecting on the outside becomes a war on the inside. And in that moment, your soul whispers something life-changing: this is not love. This is survival. Letting go is an act of deep self-respect. It's standing at the edge of your past, looking it in the eye, and saying, "Thank you for the lesson, but I'm ready for more." It's not erasing memories. It's not pretending it never mattered. It's acknowledging that you matter, too, your needs, your dreams, your spirit. They are just as important, and you no longer need to sacrifice them to be accepted or loved. People may not understand your decision to walk away. They may call it selfish or dramatic, but they don't see the quiet tears, the sleepless nights, the emotional weight you've carried just to make it work. What they call letting go, you know as finally choosing yourself. And that is not weakness, that is power, that is healing. Letting go is not about what you're losing. It's about who you're becoming. It's choosing to no longer shrink, to no longer stay silent, to no longer settle. It's reclaiming your voice, your energy, your identity. It's saying, "I deserve to be loved without having to lose myself." And when you let go from that place of truth, you don't fall apart, you rise. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from the body, it comes from the soul. It's the awareness of constantly chasing people who make you feel unseen. Constantly explaining yourself to those who never try to understand. Constantly trying to be enough for someone who never chose you fully. But here's the truth that brings quiet liberation: healing doesn't begin with fixing the relationship, it begins when you stop chasing the person. We often confuse closure with healing. We think if we just get one more conversation, one more apology, one more chance, then the pain will go away. But healing isn't about what they say. It's about what you choose. The moment you stop running after their validation, you start returning to your own. The moment you stop trying to make them stay, you begin to stay for yourself. That's when the real healing begins, not in their words, but in your silence. Chasing is rooted in fear, the fear of being alone, the fear of being forgotten, the fear that maybe, just maybe, you're not worthy. But healing is rooted in truth. And the truth is this: you were always worthy. You just forgot because you were too busy trying to be chosen by someone else. When you stop chasing, you give yourself permission to be still. And in that stillness, you begin to hear your own heart again. Sometimes we chase because we believe that love must be earned. That if we try harder, love harder, give more, sacrifice more, we'll finally be enough. But that kind of love is heavy, it crushes you. Healing is light. It breathes. It says you don't have to fight to be loved, you just have to be. And when you stop chasing the wrong people, the right kind of peace finds its way to you, the kind that doesn't ask you to prove anything. So when you feel that need to go back, to explain again, to try just one more time, pause, breathe, ask yourself, am I trying to be heard or am I trying to be healed? And then gently remind yourself healing begins not in holding on but in letting go of the chase. You don't need to pursue those who abandoned you, you need to come back to the one who's been quietly waiting for you all along, yourself. One of the most painful yet liberating truths in life is this: not everyone you start with is meant to walk with you forever. Some people enter your life as soft whispers of comfort, others as sharp lessons of growth. And as much as we may want to hold on to every connection, life has a way of gently and sometimes suddenly peeling people away when their time in our story is done. You see, we often confuse permanence with purpose. We think if someone was important once, they should remain forever. But some relationships are seasonal. Their purpose isn't to stay, but to awaken something within us, a strength, a boundary, a voice we had forgotten. Once that purpose is fulfilled, holding on only causes more pain. Growth demands that we release what no longer aligns with who we're becoming. It doesn't mean the love wasn't real. It doesn't mean the memories didn't matter. It just means that your paths are now leading in different directions. And that's okay. You can love someone deeply and still choose to let them go. You can honor their part in your story while still turning the page. Closure doesn't always come with a conversation. Sometimes it's just a quiet understanding that their role in your life has come to an end. When we resist this truth, we suffer. We start shrinking ourselves to keep people close, compromising our peace just to maintain connection. But what if your next chapter is waiting on the other side of that release? What if letting go of them is what creates space for something far more aligned, far more nurturing, far more you? Remember, growth and guilt cannot walk together. Let go with grace, not guilt. Not everyone can handle your light. Not everyone is capable of walking beside you as you rise. And that's not a judgment, it's a reality. So as you continue your journey, don't be afraid to walk alone for a while. Trust that the people meant for your next level will find you when you stop trying to bring everyone from your past with you. Because the truth is, not everyone is meant for the whole journey. And that's what makes the ones who stay even more beautiful. There comes a point in your journey where you begin to realize that being accepted by others should never come at the cost of abandoning yourself. We grow up in a world that teaches us to seek approval, to be polite, to fit in, to be liked. But approval is fragile. It shifts with moods, changes with trends, and often requires you to wear a mask that doesn't feel like you. Peace, on the other hand, is quiet. It's gentle, but it is unwavering. And when you truly find it, you stop needing permission to be yourself. Many of us have spent years performing, wearing smiles when we were breaking inside, agreeing to things we never believed in, hiding our truth just to keep relationships intact. But what is the point of being loved if the version of you they love isn't real? If your voice trembles every time you try to speak your truth, it's time to stop seeking applause and start honoring your peace. You were not born to please everyone. You were born to live authentically. The truth is, peace isn't loud. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply exists in spaces where your heart feels safe, your soul feels still, and your mind can rest. It doesn't require you to explain yourself over and over. It doesn't demand that you be less than who you are. Peace is where you no longer feel the need to prove anything because you finally accepted everything you are. And that kind of acceptance begins from within. When you start choosing peace, some people may call you distant. Some may say you've changed. Let them. Let them misunderstand your quiet. Let them question your boundaries because their approval is not your responsibility and your healing is not their business. You don't owe anyone a version of yourself that feels like a burden to carry. You only owe yourself the kindness of honoring what brings you peace, even if it means walking away from what's familiar. You are not difficult. You are not ungrateful. You are simply choosing your calm over their comfort. And that's a brave, beautiful thing. Peace is not the absence of people. It's the presence of self. And when you finally choose peace over approval, you stop waiting for the world to validate you. And you start building a world within you where you already belong. Growth is not always visible. Sometimes it's as quiet as setting a boundary you used to avoid. Sometimes it's found in the calm of walking away without explaining yourself. And sometimes growth is simply choosing silence over proving your point. These moments might go unnoticed by the world. But to your soul, they are milestones. And these milestones deserve to be protected, not questioned, not judged, but honored. You've come too far to allow people to pull you back into old patterns. The version of you that tolerated disrespect, allowed chaos, and accepted half-love. That version worked hard to survive. But you are not surviving anymore. You are evolving. And with that evolution comes a quiet responsibility to guard your growth like the sacred process it is, because not everyone around you will understand it and not everyone should have access to it. Some people will try to bring you back to the version of yourself they were comfortable with, the one who said yes too often, the one who stayed silent to keep the peace. But your healing will disturb those who benefited from your pain. Your growth will make others uncomfortable, especially those who were invested in your limitations. That's why it's important to choose your energy, your space, and your company with care. Protecting your growth means learning to say no without guilt. It means choosing rest over proving yourself. It means allowing your boundaries to speak for you when words fail. It means accepting that you no longer owe anyone the parts of yourself that you've worked so hard to rebuild. You are not being selfish. You are simply no longer available for what breaks you. You are growing into someone who is softer yet stronger, quieter yet clearer, gentler yet wiser. And that version of you is precious. It's fragile. It's sacred. And it needs room to breathe. So protect your growth. Wrap it in truth. Guard it with love. Share it only with those who see it, respect it, and never ask you to become small just to make them feel big. There is a quiet guilt that often whispers to us when we finally begin to prioritize our own well-being. We've been raised to believe that choosing ourselves means turning our back on others. That if we take a step back, to breathe, to rest, to focus on healing, we are being selfish. But the truth is, choosing yourself is not abandonment. It's alignment. It's choosing to come back to the parts of you've ignored for too long. We give so much of ourselves to others, our time, our energy, our love. Often forgetting that we are worthy of the same care we so freely offer. And when we finally decide to pour into our own cup, people might not understand. They might call you distant. They might say you've changed. But what they don't see is the silent battles you fought while showing up for everyone else. Choosing yourself doesn't make you selfish. It makes you honest. Sometimes you need to say no, not because you don't care, but because you've learned the hard way that self-neglect is not love. Sometimes you need space, not to isolate, but to realign. Choosing yourself is not about shutting people out. It's about no longer abandoning yourself just to be accepted. It's realizing that you cannot give from an empty heart and you cannot keep pouring into others if you're constantly running on emotional fumes. You deserve to be the safe space you've always been for everyone else. You deserve to rest, to breathe, to rebuild, to be whole. So take that walk alone. Turn off your phone. Say no without apology. Rest without guilt. Dream without permission. This is your life. Your healing, your journey. You are not required to lose yourself in order to be loved. It's okay to choose yourself softly, slowly, courageously. And one day you'll look back and thank yourself for it. One of the most liberating truths you'll ever embrace is this: it is okay to outgrow people. It doesn't make you unkind. It doesn't make you arrogant. It simply means you are growing in a direction where certain energies, certain mindsets, and certain relationships can no longer follow. Growth is a deeply personal journey. And not everyone is meant to walk every chapter with you. Sometimes the people we love become part of our comfort zone. We've laughed with them, cried with them, shared dreams with them. But as we evolve, we may begin to notice that those relationships no longer nourish us. They drain us. The conversations feel empty. The connection feels forced. The space no longer feels safe. You start shrinking your spirit just to fit into what was once familiar. And in doing so, you lose touch with who you're becoming. There is nothing wrong with wanting more for yourself, for your peace, for your growth. Wanting more doesn't mean you look down on where you came from. It means you're brave enough to step into who you are becoming, even when it's uncomfortable. You can love someone and still recognize that your paths are no longer aligned. You can hold compassion in your heart while also holding boundaries in your life. It takes courage to walk away from relationships that once meant everything to you. But it also takes wisdom to realize when staying would mean sacrificing your growth. Letting go doesn't always mean there's anger or pain. Sometimes it's just a quiet acceptance that you're heading in different directions, and that's okay. You are not obligated to stay small for the sake of someone else's comfort. You owe it to yourself to keep evolving, even if it means walking alone for a while. The right people, the ones who truly see you, will never ask you to dim your light just so they can shine. So give yourself permission to outgrow who you used to be. Give yourself permission to outgrow the people who expect you to stay the same. Because your growth is a sign that you're honoring your journey, and that is something to be proud of. So, if you're standing at a crossroads today, torn between holding on and letting go, I hope you choose you. Not because you're selfish, but because you've spent far too long pouring into people who never poured back. Because you've dimmed your light trying to keep others warm. And now it's your turn to be the sun in your own sky. Letting go doesn't mean you never loved. It means you've finally learned to love yourself more. It means you've chosen healing over habit, peace over approval, and growth over guilt. It means you're ready to bloom without apology. You are not what you've lost. You are what you're learning to protect. And the most beautiful part of your journey is still ahead. Quietly waiting for the moment you decide, I'm ready to come home to myself. So focus on yourself.